Welcome to my channel, my friends. Let me ask you something. Why do you spend hours studying English, but still forget everything the next day? You listen, you read, you try to memorize, but when you speak, the words disappear. Your mind becomes empty. You feel tired, confused, and disappointed. But what if I told you something that sounds strange? You can learn English even when you sleep. Not magic, not a trick. Real science, real results, real progress. Tell me in the comments, do you want to learn English while you sleep? Yes or no? Chapter 1. I was tired of studying all day. I want to start with a simple truth. Nobody becomes fluent in English by studying until their eyes burn. Nobody remembers words just because they looked at them 100 times in the day. I know this because I tried. I sat at my desk, opened books, watched videos, repeated sentences, wrote notes, and still, every morning I woke up empty. It felt like the words ran away from me while I slept. I thought something was wrong with me. I thought maybe I was not smart enough. Maybe English was only for people who had talent. Maybe I was too old, too slow, or just unlucky. That idea hurt me, and maybe it hurts you too. In school, I watched my classmates raise their hands confidently. They understood the lessons. They remembered vocabulary. They could speak small conversations with our teacher. But I sat quietly in the back. My hands stayed on my lap. My brain felt heavy. When the teacher asked questions, I prayed silently. Please, don't pick me. Please. My heart would beat fast because I knew if I tried to speak, everyone would look at me. They would hear my mistakes. They would hear my broken sentences. They would hear the fear in my voice. I felt like English was a mountain I could never climb. I want you to imagine something. You are sitting at your desk at night. Your eyes are tired. You open your English notebook. You read a sentence 10 times. You whisper it to yourself. You feel hopeful for a moment. You think, maybe this time I will remember it. You close the notebook and go to sleep. But in the morning, the sentence is gone. It is like someone pressed a delete button in your brain, and you sit there asking yourself, what is wrong with me? If you have ever felt this, you are not alone. Many learners feel this. Many people forget. Many people think they are weak. But the truth is different. You are not weak. You are simply using your brain in the wrong way. I remember one day after school, I went home, and I was angry at myself. I studied all afternoon. I memorized words from the textbook. I wrote sentences on small pieces of paper. I even stuck them on the wall of my room. I wanted English to live around me. But still, my brain was tired. I closed my eyes that night feeling frustrated, scared, and lost. I told myself, maybe English is just not for me. That thought broke my heart. I wanted to quit. I wanted to stop trying. But there was a small voice inside me saying, don't give up. There is another way. That was the moment I found something interesting. I read somewhere that the brain does not sleep the way we think it does. Your body sleeps. Your eyes close. Your muscles rest. But your brain, it stays awake. It works quietly in the background. It organizes your memories. It cleans your thoughts. It takes everything you learned during the day and decides what is important. I didn't fully understand it back then, but I felt something. It was like someone whispered to me, maybe you don't need to fight during the day. Maybe you can learn at night. I laughed when I first thought of it. It sounded silly. Learn while I sleep. How? But inside, I was desperate. I was tired of studying without results. I was tired of pushing my brain like a heavy box. I wanted something softer, something kinder, something easier. I wanted English to feel natural, not painful. So I made a simple decision. I would try something new. Not because I was sure it would work, but because I had nothing to lose. I want you to think about your own story. Think about the time you tried to study and nothing stayed in your mind. Think about how you blamed yourself. Think about how you said, "Maybe I'm not good." That pain is real. That frustration is real. But your conclusion is wrong. You are not bad at English. Your brain is not broken. You are simply trying to learn like a machine during the day when your mind is full of stress, worry, and pressure. You are trying to plant seeds on dry soil. You work hard, but nothing grows. Learning English is not only about study, it is about memory. And memory likes softness. It likes calm. It likes silence. It likes safety. When you sleep, your brain is not stressed. It is gentle, open, peaceful. That is when it builds pathways. That is when it understands. That is when it remembers. You do not need to kill yourself with textbooks. You do not need to force every sentence. You can relax. You can close your eyes. You can let the brain do its job. I realized something in that moment. I had been fighting English. I wanted to grab the words and hold them tight. But English is like water. When you squeeze your hand, it escapes. When you let your hand relax, it stays. I didn't know this lesson at first, but I was about to learn it. And everything changed from that moment forward. The night I decided to try sleep learning, I wasn't brave. I wasn't confident. I wasn't excited. I was just tired. I wanted a way to learn without pain. I put my phone next to my pillow. I chose a simple English playlist. The volume was low, like a soft whisper. I kept my eyes closed. I didn't try to understand the words. I didn't try to memorize them. I just listened. And something strange happened. I didn't feel fear. I didn't feel pressure. I didn't feel stupid. I just felt calm. That night, I slept like a child. No stress in my chest, no voices in my head saying, "You will fail." English floated around me like clouds. It was not a test. It was a friend. And when I woke up the next morning, I did not know everything. I was not fluent, but I remembered one sentence. Just one. A small, simple sentence. And that was the moment I understood. Learning English is not about force. It is about allowing your mind to breathe. And now, I want you to follow me to the next moment of this journey. Because the first night was just the beginning. Something happened the second night, and it changed how I learn forever. Let me tell you what happened next. Chapter 2. The first night I tried sleep learning. I still remember that night like it happened yesterday. The room was silent. The world around me was asleep. The air was still, and I felt tired from a long day of trying to force English into my mind. I sat on my bed with my phone in my hand, feeling a mix of hope and doubt. I searched for simple English sentences, not grammar lessons, not complicated vocabulary, just short, gentle sentences, spoken slowly. I found a playlist and pressed play. The voice was calm. It said, "Hello, how are you? My name is Sarah. This is my cup." Simple, soft. I lay down, placed the phone near my pillow, and closed my eyes. At first, I wanted to focus. I wanted to understand every word. I tried to follow each sentence like I did in class. But something was different. In the darkness, with my eyes closed, I could not see the words. I could only feel them. They were not loud. They were not stressful. They moved around me like water. I was not thinking about grammar. I was not trying to remember. I was just listening, the way a child listens to a mother's voice before sleep. The words drifted into my ears and passed through my mind. That is when something magical began. The voice repeated sentences again and again. "This is my cup. This is my bag. How are you? Thank you." They were simple sentences, but they moved gently inside my brain. My body relaxed. My shoulders dropped. My eyes became heavy, and without realizing it, I fell asleep. The sentences continued while I slept. The brain listened, even when I was not awake. I didn't control it, I didn't force it. The words were like soft waves, coming and going, slowly carrying something into me. When I woke up the next morning, I didn't expect anything. I thought I would repeat another day of forgetting. I sat up, rubbed my eyes, stretched, and heard something in my mind. A small sentence whispered from the back of my memory. "This is my cup." It was clear. It was not blurry. It was not broken. It sat in my brain like it belonged there. I smiled. Not a big smile. A small one. The type of smile you make when you find something that gives hope. I was surprised. How did I remember that? I didn't write it down. I didn't study it. I didn't repeat it with stress. It just stayed there, calmly, waiting for me. That one sentence may seem small to you, but to me, it was the proof that I was not stupid. For the first time in a long time, English stayed in my mind without pain. That tiny success made me curious. It made me hungry. I wanted to know more. I wanted to see if this was just luck or if something deeper was happening. I wanted to test it again, so I decided I would try another night. The second night, I didn't worry about mistakes. I didn't worry about grammar. I didn't worry about trying to memorize. I let the words float. I listened to short daily sentences again. The voice said, "I wake up at 7 a.m. I am hungry. This is a pen. I like tea. My name is Sarah. Thank you very much." The sentences were simple. They were spoken slowly. And they repeated, again and again. At first, I listened carefully. Then slowly, the sentences faded into the background of my thoughts. They became part of the silence. I fell asleep. The next morning, I woke up feeling rested. My eyes opened calmly. I brushed my teeth, looked in the mirror, and something unexpected happened. I whispered out loud to myself, "I like tea." I didn't try to say it. I didn't push it. It just came. Easy. Soft. Natural. Like breathing. Like drinking water. No fear. No hesitation. It just came out. That sentence opened a door in my mind. If my brain could remember one sentence, and then another one, maybe there were hundreds waiting to be learned this way. Maybe thousands. You may think I am exaggerating, but I am not. That moment changed how I saw English. It changed how I saw myself. I realized that I did not need to fight English like a heavy monster. I did not need to memorize until I broke. I could let English flow into my brain like a song. And every night, my brain would do the work without my effort. The pressure was gone. The fear was gone. The weakness I felt began to melt. I was not failing. I was simply using English in the wrong way before. I began to understand something teachers never told me. Language is not a list of rules. It is not a set of words on a page. It is sound. It is rhythm. It is feeling. Babies do not learn grammar first. They do not read textbooks. They do not sit at tables writing notes. They listen. They sleep. They hear voices. They hear words. They hear sentences every day. Their brains absorb language quietly in the background. And one day, without warning, they speak. Not perfect, not advanced, but real. The same is true for us. That night taught me the first rule of sleep learning. You do not need to control it. The moment you stop forcing your brain is the moment it begins working. When your eyes close, your fear also closes. The shame disappears. The noise of the world fades away. Your mind becomes soft soil, and the words are seeds. They fall gently, and they grow by themselves while you rest. I began to look at English differently. It was no longer the enemy. It was not a storm. It was a friend, talking softly in the dark, repeating gentle phrases for me. No judgment. No criticism. Just learning without pain. And for the first time in my life, I began to trust myself. I began to trust my brain. I began to believe that I could become fluent. I want you to remember this. Every language you hear while sleeping enters the mind in a peaceful way. No nerves, no stress, no fear. The more you relax, the more you absorb. That is why the first night was powerful. It was not about how many sentences I learned. It was about how I learned them. Calmly, naturally, without forcing. And this was only the beginning. Because soon, I discovered something even more powerful. I learned why sleep makes the brain remember so easily. Let me show you what really happens inside your mind at night. Chapter 3: Why Sleep Helps Your Brain Learn English. Before I truly believed in sleep learning, I needed to understand why it works. I was curious, the way a child looks at a puzzle. I asked myself a simple question. Why did one sentence stay in my mind even though I didn't study it? I didn't repeat it 20 times. I didn't write it down. I didn't try to memorize it. I just listened while sleeping, and my brain kept it. That was strange to me. So, I started to look deeper, not like a scientist, but like a person who desperately wants answers. The first thing I learned was this: your brain is never sleeping. Your eyes close. Your body lies still. Your muscles stop moving. But your brain continues to work like a night factory. During the day, your brain is fighting everything: noise, stress, confusion, fears, tasks, responsibilities, conversations, emotions. It is busy. It is tired. It cannot keep every piece of information. If you study English at 2 p.m. and then try to memorize vocabulary while your brain is full of stress, it does not stay. Your brain is like a noisy room. New words enter, but they cannot find space. At night, everything changes. Your brain becomes calm. It starts cleaning, organizing, sorting. Imagine a library with thousands of books thrown randomly on the floor. During the night, the librarian walks in, picks up each book, reads the label, and puts it on the right shelf. That librarian works quietly while you sleep. You don't see it, you don't feel it. But in the morning, the library looks different, more organized, more clear. This is how sleep helps memory. There are different types of sleep, even if we never think about them. When I first learned about them, I was shocked. There is light sleep, where your brain is still close to being awake. There is deep sleep, where your body repairs itself. And there is REM sleep, the stage where dreams come alive. During REM sleep, your brain becomes active in a strange, creative way. It connects ideas. It plays with memories. It shapes patterns. And here is the most beautiful part. REM sleep is where language becomes stronger. Think about babies for a moment. They hear sounds all day. They hear their parents talking. They hear songs. They hear conversations. They do not understand every word. They do not know grammar. They do not study. But when they sleep, their tiny brains begin to organize everything they heard. They do not force learning. They simply absorb. And one day, the baby who never studied suddenly says, "Clear, Mama," or "Dada." Nobody sat down and taught them. Nobody gave them flashcards. Their brain learned naturally. When I realized this, something clicked inside me. I was trying to learn English like an adult with pressure, fear, and stress. But my brain wanted to learn like a child, soft, calm, relaxed. I was fighting English, but children simply live with it. They hear it while eating, while playing, while sleeping. Their brain takes the language and organizes it quietly. We forget this as adults. We try to learn with force. We want to control every sentence. We get angry when we forget. But the brain does not learn through anger. It learns through repetition and peace. I found out that the brain has a special memory system. During the day, it collects information. It listens. It watches. It absorbs. But daytime memories are weak. They sit in the front of your brain, waiting. At night, your brain takes those memories and moves them deeper, like moving files from your desktop into important folders. This process is called consolidation. You don't do anything. You just sleep, and the brain does the hard work. This is why the sentences I heard at night stayed inside me. They slipped into deeper memory while I rested. Many people think they are bad at English because they forget new words, but forgetting is not a sign of weakness. Forgetting is a sign that your brain is still sorting information. The mistake is not learning slowly. The mistake is thinking you must learn everything while awake. Your waking mind can only hold a little. Your sleeping mind can hold much more. I noticed something else. When I listened to English during sleep, the words felt softer. During the day, English sounded like noise, fast, confusing, heavy. Teachers spoke quickly. Textbooks looked scary. My brain blocked them. But at night, English had no enemy. It entered my mind like a quiet guest. No pressure, no judgment. The sentences floated like clouds. I was not trying to understand them, and because I was relaxed, my brain accepted them. Think about when you try to memorize something during the day. You repeat it. You stress about it. You feel embarrassed when you forget. You feel shame when someone corrects you. Shame is like a wall. When your mind is afraid, it closes the doors. No learning enters. But while sleeping, there is no shame, no walls, no fear. Your brain listens like a child listens to a lullaby. And because it is calm, it remembers. Once, I read a line from a doctor who studied sleep. He said, "The sleeping brain is the teacher of the waking brain." When I read that, my heart jumped. It made everything make sense. I didn't need to punish myself with English. I needed to cooperate with my brain. I needed to use the time when my mind was soft. I didn't need to force vocabulary. I just needed to let it breathe. That was the moment I understood something deep. Fluent people do not always study harder. They use their brain in a smarter way. Some people wake up smarter because they sleep smarter. Athletes know this. Musicians know this. They practice, then they sleep, then they improve. They don't only work when awake, their brain works when they rest. So I asked myself a new question. Not how do I study more, but how do I make sleep my classroom? And soon, I found a very important answer. You must choose the right things to listen to while sleeping. Because sleep learning is powerful, but if you listen to the wrong things, your brain becomes confused. In the next part of this journey, I will show you exactly what worked, what didn't, and why the content you choose matters more than you think. Chapter 4. What to listen to while you sleep. When I first started sleep learning, I made a mistake that many beginners make. I thought I could listen to anything. I thought if I listen to English while I sleep, all English will enter my brain. So I played English movies at night. I played fast videos. I played random lessons. I played podcasts with difficult vocabulary. I closed my eyes and hoped everything would stay in my mind. But in the morning, I didn't remember anything. My brain was confused. I felt frustrated. I thought sleep learning didn't work. I almost gave up. Then I realized something very important. It is not about listening to English. It is about listening to the right English. Think about it like this. You are planting seeds in a garden. If you throw seeds everywhere, on rocks, on concrete, on dry soil, on sand, nothing grows. But if you place one seed gently in soft soil, water it, and repeat that daily, it grows strong. Your brain is the soil. The English sentences are seeds. If you throw many difficult seeds everywhere at once, the brain does not know what to keep. But if you give it a few simple seeds again and again, the brain understands what to do. It starts to grow them slowly in the dark of the night. That is why we must choose simple English while sleeping. Simple sentences. Simple vocabulary. Slow voice. Nothing heavy. Nothing complex. Your brain at night is not trying to solve grammar puzzles. It is not writing essays. It is not preparing for exams. It is listening like a baby listens to its parents. It needs gentle words that repeat. Your brain needs sentences like, "How are you? I am fine. This is my bag. I wake up at 7. I like tea." These sentences are not boring. They are powerful. They are the roots of English. They are the foundation. When you sleep, your brain hears them again and again. The repetition makes the memory stronger. The sound becomes familiar. The meaning becomes automatic. You do not learn by force. You learn by softness. I tried something one night that changed everything. I found an audio that spoke like a real human, not like a robot. The voice was slow and calm. It said natural sentences. For example, "Good morning. I am brushing my teeth. I am wearing my clothes. I am going to school. I am eating breakfast." It was like a daily routine story. It repeated many times. The words moved like waves, and when I slept, I did not try to control anything. I just let the audio talk to my sleeping mind. The next morning, something interesting happened. I woke up and went to wash my face. I looked in the mirror and whispered, "I am brushing my teeth." I didn't plan to say it. It just came out of me. It felt natural. The sentence was inside me like a small song. That moment taught me a deep lesson. Your brain remembers sentences when they are connected to real life, not random grammar rules, not textbooks written for exams. Real life. Your breakfast, your clothes, your room, your daily actions. The more real the sentences are, the stronger your brain holds them. This is why you should never listen to difficult lectures while sleeping. No complicated grammar lessons. No long podcasts speaking like radio hosts. No videos with fast debate or emotional arguments. Your brain cannot organize chaos. It needs clarity. It needs gentle repetition. It needs sentences you can imagine with your eyes closed. And here is the secret. Imagination is the bridge between the sleeping brain and the waking brain. Imagine this. The voice says, "This is my cup." You see a cup in your mind. The brain makes a connection. Word image, sound object, language life. That connection stays. It becomes strong. It becomes automatic. But if the voice says, "Industrial Revolution of 19th century had significant effects on socio-economic human development," your brain becomes confused. It has no picture, no image, no meaning. The sentence will pass through your sleep like wind. Nothing will stay, because your brain cannot build a connection. I learned that the audio must be like someone holding your hand gently. It must be slow. It must repeat. It must not stress you. The best sleep learning content is not dramatic. It is not full of excitement. It is calm, soft, safe. English enters the mind when the heart is relaxed. And here is something even more important. Never play background music with heavy beats or fast rhythms. Music with strong emotion disturbs the sleeping mind. It moves the heart. It wakes the brain. You don't want the brain to wake. You want the brain to float. Gentle music is okay if it is slow and relaxing, but the voice must be clear. The words must be the star. One night, I made another mistake. I listened to an English news channel while sleeping. They spoke about disasters, politics, and accidents. The next morning, I felt heavy, anxious, and tired. My brain did not learn, it reacted. Because when we sleep, we still feel emotions. If the content is dark or stressful, your brain protects itself. It blocks the words. It doesn't want to learn them. It wants to escape them. That is why I say, your sleep classroom must be peaceful. I discovered something beautiful. When I chose daily English sentences, my brain didn't fight. It welcomed them. It accepted them. And every morning, I remembered one more sentence. Not 10, not 20, just 1 or 2. But every day, those small steps became powerful. A week later, I could repeat 10 sentences without trying. A month later, I could speak small conversations. I didn't know how, I just knew it was happening. Sleep learning is like watering a garden. You don't see the growth every night. You only see it when you wake up one morning and your plants are taller. That is how English grows inside you. Quietly, slowly, without force. But even when I used the right audio, something else mattered. Something most people never think about. How you prepare your brain before sleep. Because what you do before you close your eyes can make your memory stronger or destroy it. Let me tell you how I built a sleep routine that changed everything. Chapter 5. My sleep routine that changed everything. Before I created a real sleep learning routine, I thought sleep learning was just press play and close your eyes. I believed that if English was playing in the background, the magic would happen by itself. But I was wrong. Sometimes I woke up tired. Sometimes I remembered nothing. Sometimes I felt stressed even though the audio was slow. So one night, I told myself, if I can learn during sleep, I must treat my sleep like a classroom. And that was the moment everything changed. What I am going to tell you now is not theory. It is exactly how I built a routine that made English enter my mind naturally, peacefully, and powerfully. It began with something very simple. I stopped studying before bed. I used to sit with a notebook, trying to memorize vocabulary, writing sentences, forcing myself to learn when my brain was tired. My eyes hurt. My head was full. When I finally laid down in bed, English became heavy like a stone in my mind. But one night I made a new rule. After dinner, no hard learning. Instead, I would relax. I would allow my brain to breathe. I listened to calm music, took slow breaths, or read a simple book. I wasn't trying to memorize. I was preparing my mind to receive. When the brain is relaxed, it opens its doors. Then I changed where I placed my phone. Before, I kept it far away. The sound was weak. I could barely hear it. My brain did not connect with the words. So I placed it near my pillow, not under it, not against my ear, just close enough that the voice sounded like a person speaking softly beside me. That closeness mattered. It felt safe, personal, gentle, not like a loudspeaker shouting words, but like a friend whispering English to me in the quiet of the night. Volume was another secret. I used to keep it loud because I thought, if I hear it clearly, maybe I will remember better. But the brain hates loudness during sleep. Loud audio is like a stranger knocking on your door. Your brain stays awake, trying to protect you. That is why I lowered the volume until it was soft, almost like a dream voice. I could hear every word, but it did not disturb me. It did not wake me. The brain listened while the body rested. The next part was about repetition. Many learners want to listen to different audio each night. They want variety. They want excitement. They want to feel like they are doing something new. But sleep learning is not about excitement. It is about building deep memory. If you change your audio every night, it is like giving the brain new seeds every day but never watering them. Nothing grows. So I made a promise to myself. I will listen to the same sleep audio for 7 nights. 7 nights of the same sentences, the same voice, the same rhythm. The first night felt normal. The second night felt familiar. By the third night, something beautiful happened. The sentences started to repeat inside my mind without effort. I remember the audio I used at that time. It was simple daily sentences. The voice said, I wake up. I brush my teeth. I wash my face. I wear my clothes. I go to school. The sentences were short and connected to real life. They were not a grammar lesson. They were not a vocabulary list. They were a story of someone living, and the brain loves stories. When the sentences create images, the brain begins to store them deeper, because they connect with something real. I used a timer too. I didn't want the audio to play until morning. If it played all night, my brain became tired. Messages kept entering when my mind didn't need them anymore. That made me wake up irritated and confused. So I set a sleep timer for 2-3 hours. That time was perfect. It allowed the words to enter during the early stages of sleep, especially during light sleep and REM sleep. After that, the audio stopped and my brain rested in silence. Some people sleep with headphones. I tried that too. The first night was okay. The second night, my ears hurt. The third night, I woke up angry at the wires. I learned something important. Nothing should disturb your body while you sleep. Your brain should learn, but your body must be comfortable. So I stopped using headphones. I chose a small speaker or my phone speaker at low volume. My body slept freely, and my mind listened calmly. The biggest mistake I used to make before the routine was going to bed with stress. I thought about my day. I worried about mistakes. I replayed conversations. I felt angry at myself for being slow. But stress is poison for sleep learning. The brain does not listen when it is afraid. It only protects you. So I changed one last thing. Before sleep, I spoke to myself gently. Not perfectly, not in beautiful English. Just something simple. I said, "Today I did my best. Tomorrow I will do a little more." That small sentence let my mind relax. My heart loosened. The brain became willing to listen. I saw changes slowly, not suddenly. The first week I remembered 1 or 2 sentences. The second week I remembered entire phrases. The third week, I began to think in English during the day. It shocked me. I went to the kitchen one morning and looked at my mug. Without planning it, I whispered, "This is my cup." The sentence came from my sleep, not from study. That is when I understood the brain learns at night and reveals it in the morning. Sleep is not the test. The morning is the proof. There was one day when I sat with a friend. He asked me, "How do you feel today?" Normally I would panic and freeze, but that morning, I answered without thinking, "I am fine, thank you." The words came from somewhere deep. They came from quiet nights that nobody saw, from gentle audios that repeated while I slept, from sentences that moved through my dreams like soft streams of language. I didn't try to remember. My brain gave me the words like a gift. That was the moment I finally understood something powerful. Learning English is not war. It is harmony. You do not need to force English into your head. You do not need to fight with grammar. You do not need to punish yourself for forgetting. You only need to build a routine that allows your mind to breathe. A routine that turns sleep into your teacher. A routine that shows your brain you are ready to grow. But even though this routine helped me, the journey was not perfect. Sometimes things went wrong. Sometimes the audio disturbed me. Sometimes my mind rejected English. And I discovered mistakes that could destroy sleep learning if you don't know them. Let me tell you those mistakes and how to fix them before they stop your progress. Chapter 6. When sleep learning goes wrong. Sleep learning sounds beautiful. You press play, close your eyes, and let English enter your mind like rain. But in real life, it is not always perfect. Some nights go wrong. Some days you wake up tired. Some mornings you remember nothing. And many learners feel discouraged and quit. I know this feeling very well, because I experienced every one of those mistakes. I didn't understand what I was doing wrong. I became angry with myself. I blamed my brain. I thought sleep learning was fake. But later, I learned a powerful truth. Sleep learning doesn't fail because your brain is weak. It fails because your system is wrong. Let me tell you the mistakes that almost destroyed my progress, and how to fix them before they destroy yours. The first mistake was simple. I tried to listen to sleep audio when I was not tired. I thought if I stayed awake and listened for an hour, it would help. But I didn't realize something important. When the body is awake, the mind fights. When the mind fights, it blocks. I was lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking, is this working? Am I understanding the words? Did I hear that sentence correctly? When will I fall asleep? The more I worried, the more awake I became. The audio became noise. My brain became a wall. I heard English, but I did not absorb it. I was listening with fear instead of peace. Bert. Sleep learning is not about forcing yourself to sleep. It is about letting go. Bert. You should not be awake analyzing every sentence. You should allow your body to fall into rest naturally. When you let the audio play gently, and you stop trying to control it, only then does your brain open its doors. Bert. The second mistake was one I saw many people make: choosing the wrong content. One night, I played an English movie while I slept. The actors shouted. The music was loud. Scenes changed fast. Sometimes they whispered. Sometimes they screamed. The audio was filled with emotion. I fell asleep, but I dreamed of chaos. I woke up with fear. My heart was heavy. I remembered nothing. My mind rejected the language because it felt dangerous. Bert. Another night, I played a podcast with difficult words. The speaker talked fast about business, politics, and science. The next morning, I felt tired and confused. My brain did not store anything. It did something else instead. It protected me. When information is too complex, the brain shuts the door. It cannot build mental pictures. It cannot connect words to images. It cannot find meaning. And when there is no meaning, memory cannot grow. Bert. The third mistake was something I thought was clever. I kept changing the audio every night. Bert. I told myself I should learn more. I should hear new sentences. But what really happened was this. Each night my brain started learning from zero. Imagine this. You plant a new seed every day, but you never water yesterday's seed. After a week, you have 7 seeds, but nothing grows. That was exactly what happened to me. I listened to many things, but remembered nothing. When I finally repeated one simple audio every night, my brain started to grow roots. Bert. The fourth mistake was volume. Bert. I made it too loud. I thought loud and effective, but the brain is like a child. If you whisper gently, the child listens. If you shout, the child covers its ears. One night the audio was loud, and I woke up angry, like someone was calling me in the dark. I didn't sleep deeply. I didn't dream. I didn't absorb anything. The words became noise instead of language. That morning I told myself, I am done. I almost quit. Then I realized it wasn't English that was hurting me. It was the volume. When I lowered it to a soft, peaceful level, everything changed. Bert. The fifth mistake was the most dangerous: listening to emotional content. Bert. Never do this. Your sleeping brain is more sensitive than your waking brain. I once listened to a story about fear, accidents, and sadness. The voice was slow, the sentences were clear, but the emotional energy was heavy. That night I slept, but I didn't rest. My sleep filled with strange dreams. I woke up feeling negative. My body was uncomfortable. My mind wanted silence. That is when I learned something very important. The brain does not separate language from emotion. If the words are sad, the memory becomes sad. If the sentences are stressful, the mind becomes stressed. So, I stopped using emotional content completely. I chose neutral sentences, calm sentences, daily life sentences, not dramatic, not intense. Another mistake I made was trying to sleep with headphones. At first, it felt nice. The audio was close to my ears. The sound was clean. But after a few nights, the headphones pressed against my head. They hurt my ears. I woke up angry at the wires. One night the headphones slipped off and hit me. I woke up half asleep and confused. I understood something in that moment. Bert. Your body must be free. Bert. If your body is uncomfortable, the brain cannot learn. Comfort is not a luxury in sleep learning. It is the foundation. So, I stopped using headphones. I used a low-volume speaker or a phone beside the pillow. My body relaxed. My mind listened. Bert. Then there is the mistake of panic. But it happens to many beginners. You wake up one morning and you remember nothing. So you think, it doesn't work. I am wasting time. My brain is weak. That is not true. Sleep learning is like growing plants. You do not see progress every night. You do not feel growth every day. But if you stay calm, if you water your seeds, one morning you will see the first leaf. Your mistake is not failing. Your mistake is quitting too soon. But there is one more mistake that can destroy everything: listening to English with fear in your heart. But if you sleep thinking, what if I fail? What if I cannot learn? What if this doesn't work? The brain closes like a fist. It protects you. It rejects English because the language feels like danger. I used to lie in bed thinking about my mistakes from the day. I judged myself. I punished myself. And the next morning, I remembered nothing. Then I changed something simple. Before sleep, I told myself, I don't need to understand everything. I just need to listen. Those words opened the door. Mistakes happen. They are not the end. They are teachers. Every time something went wrong, I learned a small lesson. I shaped my routine. I became kinder to myself. I stopped forcing English. I allowed it to come to me. And then something beautiful began to happen. The sentences I heard at night started to appear during the day, slowly at first, like shy birds, then more confidently. My brain started working differently. The connection between sleep and speaking became real. Let me tell you how sleep learning and day practice joined hands, and how that changed everything for me. Chapter 7: How Sleep Day Practice Makes You Fluent. There is a moment in every learner's journey when things start to make sense. It is quiet at first. You don't notice it. You don't feel a big change. It is not dramatic. It is not fireworks. It is like a small light turning on in a dark room. It begins when the sentences you heard at night start to show up during the day. Not because you tried to remember them, not because you forced yourself to use them, but because your brain finally understands. These words belong to you. I remember the morning it happened. I woke up, brushed my teeth, and looked at myself in the mirror. My eyes were half open. My hair was messy. My brain was still waking up. And then, without thinking, I whispered, I am brushing my teeth. I didn't say it like a lesson. I didn't say it like homework. I said it like truth, like something that was already mine. That sentence lived in me. It was not something I learned. It was something I became. That was the moment I discovered the real secret. Sleep gives you the words, but daytime gives you the meaning. At night, your brain absorbs language like water. It stores it quietly, peacefully. But during the day, you must give that language a home. You must speak it aloud. You must create moments for your brain to use it. If you do not speak, if you do not practice, your brain keeps the language trapped inside. It stays like a silent guest in your house. But when you speak, even one small sentence, the guest becomes family. I started small, not long conversations, not perfect grammar, just gentle sentences in the morning. I am eating breakfast. I am drinking tea. This is my cup. They were not impressive sentences. Nobody would clap for them. But they were mine, and every time I said them, something powerful happened. My brain began to connect sound to life. That connection is what makes you fluent. Fluency is not about knowing thousands of words. It is about using the words you already know with comfort. One day, I walked outside and saw my neighbor. He smiled at me. Normally, I would avoid speaking. I would pretend not to see him. But that day, My mind felt different. My ear heard his voice, and my mouth answered before fear could stop me. He said, "How are you?" And I replied, "I am fine, thank you." The answer came from inside me, not from translation. It felt like breathing, like natural movement. I did not think. I did not panic. I just spoke. That small victory changed my life. I understood that sleep and day practice are not two separate worlds. They are partners. They work together like two hands lifting the same object. Sleep gives you input, sound, rhythm, patterns. Daytime gives you output, real use, real meaning. Without input, you have nothing to say. Without output, your voice stays trapped. When the two join, fluency begins. I started making a new rule for myself. Every sentence I hear at night must live once in the day. It didn't matter how simple it was. If I heard, "I am opening the door," I said it when I opened the door. If I heard, "I am washing my hands," I said it when I washed my hands. The words became actions. My brain loved that. The sleeping mind learns. The waking mind confirms. The sentence becomes permanent. At first I felt shy. Talking to myself felt strange. I would whisper quietly so no one would hear. But over time, I became more confident. I realized something important. Practicing alone is not weakness, it is training. The great singers practice in empty rooms. The strong athletes train in silence. The best learners speak to themselves before they speak to others. The mirror became my friend. The room became my classroom. There was a moment when everything truly clicked. I was sitting on my bed thinking about something, and suddenly, I realized my thoughts were in English. Not all of them, not perfectly, but some sentences, some words, some ideas. They came automatically like clouds drifting across the sky. I didn't force it. I didn't plan it. It just happened. That tiny shift was the birth of fluency. Not speaking, thinking. People think fluency starts on the tongue. They are wrong. Fluency starts in the mind. Sleep learning feeds the mind with language. Day practice gives the mind permission to use it. When these two actions repeat every day, your brain begins to think in English even when you don't try. That is when English stops being a subject and becomes a language you live. You might be thinking, "But I forget. I still make mistakes. I still freeze when I speak." Listen to me carefully. Fluency is not the absence of mistakes. Fluency is the courage to speak despite mistakes. Children make mistakes. They speak broken sentences. They say strange things. But they never stop. That is why they learn so fast. Adults stop. Adults judge themselves. Adults fear embarrassment. That fear kills fluency. So here is what I did. Every time I forgot a sentence, I wasn't angry. I smiled. I said, "Okay, my brain needs more water. I will sleep tonight." Every time I made a mistake, I didn't hate myself. I whispered, "I am learning." And every time someone laughed or looked confused, I didn't run away. I told myself, "One day they will understand me clearly." Sleep gave me confidence. Day practice gave me courage. Over time, I noticed another change. I stopped translating in my head. Before, I would hear a sentence in my native language, translate it into English, then speak. It was slow and painful, but now, words came directly. I didn't search for them. They appeared. They belonged to me. This is the moment many learners dream of, when English becomes automatic. It comes when the brain has heard the same patterns, the same sounds, the same rhythms, over and over again, especially during sleep. You don't need to memorize grammar charts. You don't need to master every rule. You don't need to be perfect. What you need is repetition and courage. The night teaches the mind. The day gives it life. That combination is how fluency is born. But something even more powerful happens after this stage. You no longer fear English. You no longer chase English. You begin to live with English. It becomes part of your dreams, part of your mornings, part of your conversations, part of your identity. It becomes your world. And that transition, that final transformation, is what I will tell you next, when sleep is no longer a tool, but your teacher. Chapter 8. Your sleep is your teacher now. There comes a moment in your English journey when everything changes, and you don't even notice it at first. It doesn't start with a big celebration or a loud applause. It starts in silence, in a dark room, with your eyes closed, with English moving gently through your dreams like soft wind. One day, you open your eyes in the morning, and you realize something. You are no longer learning English. You are living it. Sleep is no longer something that steals your time. Sleep becomes your classroom, your teacher, your quiet companion that does not shout, does not judge, and never gets tired of repeating the same sentence for you again and again. I remember the first night when I truly understood this. The audio played as always. Simple sentences, a calm voice, nothing special. I slept deeply, without fear. When I woke up, I didn't expect anything new. I went to the kitchen. My mother asked me, "What do you want for breakfast?" I did not translate. I did not think. The words came out of me like breath. "I want tea." I didn't shake. I didn't panic. I didn't think about mistakes. The sentence just existed. It was living inside my mouth, inside my brain, like a seed that finally became a plant without telling me. That was the moment I realized sleep had become my partner. Sleep became the quiet voice that spoke to me in the dark when the world was quiet. There were no classmates watching, no teachers waiting, no people judging my accent, no fears, no anxiety, just language flowing gently into my ears, and my brain, free from stress, drinking it like water. During the day, English had always attacked me. It came with pressure, tests, expectations, criticism. But at night, English was soft. It was a friend, a guide, a hand on my shoulder whispering, "We will learn slowly. We will learn together. You do not need to be perfect." I began to notice something beautiful. Some mornings I woke up with full sentences already inside my head, not memorized, not forced, just there. "I want to go outside. I need to clean my room. Can I help you?" These were not advanced phrases, but they were real. They were alive. I didn't fear them. I didn't forget them. They became mine in a very gentle way. I didn't know grammar rules behind them. I didn't know why the structure was like that. I didn't care. My brain knew. My brain understood what it needed. That is when I truly understood. You do not need to study every detail in daylight to master English. You only need to let the brain do its work. Trust it. Respect it. Let it breathe. Let it rest. Let it listen while you sleep. During the day, I kept practicing small sentences, not because I forced myself, but because English started knocking on my brain. I heard thoughts in English without planning them. I saw objects, and my brain named them in English. When I opened the fridge, my mind whispered, "Milk." When I looked at the sky, it whispered, "Beautiful." When I walked outside, it whispered, "Warm air." English became a second layer on my world, like a new lens I was wearing. I want to tell you something from my heart. This moment is the most powerful moment a learner can experience. Not the moment you memorize 1,000 vocabulary words, not the moment you pass an exam, not the moment you buy a textbook. The powerful moment is when English speaks before you do, when the brain becomes confident enough to use it without your permission. That is real fluency, not perfection, freedom. Of course, there were still days when I made mistakes, days when I forgot a word, days when I said something strange. But those mistakes stopped hurting me. Why? Because sleep changed my relationship with English. English was no longer a test. It was a friend that lived with me, even when I closed my eyes. I didn't feel shame anymore. I didn't feel small. I didn't feel behind others. I felt alive. I felt like a learner with hope. Imagine this: the world outside is loud and heavy, but when you sleep, you enter a world where English becomes gentle. No pressure, no competition, no rush, just soft waves of language flowing into your mind. Every night adds a drop of knowledge to your memory. One drop is nothing, but one drop every night becomes a river. A river becomes a habit. A habit becomes your identity. And your identity changes everything. I want you to think about who you will become, not tomorrow, not next week, but months from now. Imagine waking up and speaking English without pain. Imagine ordering food, greeting someone, asking questions, telling your story. Imagine talking to a friend in English the way you talk in your own language. Imagine teaching someone else the same method that helped you. You will not be the same person. That future version of you already exists. You just need to feed it every night. Learning English in your sleep is not a trick. It is not magic. It is not cheating. It is the most natural way the brain has learned languages since humans existed. Babies do it. Subconscious minds do it. You can do it too. Your brain is waiting. It is strong. It is ready. It is built to grow. So tonight, do not just sleep. Sleep with purpose. Sleep with softness. Sleep with English. Let your pillow be your classroom. Let your dreams be your teacher. Let your brain do what it was designed to do. And when the morning comes, speak one sentence. Just one. That is how you begin.